G'day guys, I'm here with the Young Conservative.
How you going?
Now today in Melbourne, hundreds of Africans and probably a lot of left-wing rallied against what they're calling racism from the media, who are reporting on the Sudanese crime wave that's been happening the last 2.5 years. Now, you went there today.
Yeah, I basically, I rocked up to sort of observe. I was just across the road and there were posters everywhere which sort of said, stop Channel 7's racist hate campaign against the Sudanese community and negative portrayal and whatnot. So I rocked up there to pretty much just to observe. I was across the road from the protest. I didn't get really within 50 metres of it, but there were a couple of other right-wingers that rocked up as well, and we were literally just standing there. The protest hadn't even started yet. It was meant to start at 2 and it was about 1:50 or so, and immediately 3 police officers came up to us and they said, all right, you guys are being detained for breach of the peace. And immediately I thought, what? Because I was literally just standing there. There were families around as well.
You went there, why?
Just to observe. Just to observe. I wasn't.
You were going to post what's happening on your channel?
I was going to film it and post it. I'm on post blocked as of today. It's been 30 days. It's been a long 30 days. But look, I was standing across the road and there were families about 5 metres away from me. There was a family with a pram with a child in it, and they targeted a few specific people, including me. And it wasn't even an ask to move on. I'm pretty sure that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure if you're being moved on from somewhere, they need to first ask you, and if you refuse,
Victoria doesn't have any move-on laws, so they don't have the power to do that. And what we're finding, so that is unbelievable. Again, we're hearing this the day after Lauren Southern was told that she has to leave Lakemba because she may be, again, breach of the peace.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were at that rally with myself and Debbie Robinson, the president of the Australian Liberty Alliance. Yeah. Again, breach of the peace. So this breach of the peace seems to be a tool that they're using to basically shut down conservatives.
Yeah, and what really stood out, I actually this morning I watched that video of Lauren Southern in Lakemba, and it only sort of hit me afterwards, but the difference is they didn't ask me to move on. They literally just said, you are being detained for breaching.
So you were detained, where were you taken?
So
you were taken, thrown in a DV van?
Yeah, they took me straight. They said I was being detained. I asked why. They said, you're breaching the peace. I said, on what grounds? How am I breaching the peace? They said, you are in the area. That's word for word what the cop said to me. You are in the area.
You're in the area and you're a conservative.
Yeah, and so they...
Do you have like a rap sheet?
No criminal record.
No criminal record?
I'm not on their records, maybe 1 or 2 speeding fines, but that's about it. But, so I went, okay, well, this is ridiculous. I went to get my phone out, and the guy grabbed my arm, took me straight into the police van, and they took me... through the city. It was really hot in there for about 20 minutes. We drove through the city and then they stopped outside Parliament on Spring Street, took me out, took my details down, and I said, okay, am I being charged with anything? He said, no, not at this moment.
Unbelievable.
I was standing there, hands in my pockets, not saying anything, observing. And when I said to the police officer, I said, what about the family next to me? What about the baby in the pram? Were they breaching the peace too? And he said, mate, I'm not here to argue with you. You've broken the law. I said, but how have I broken the law? He said, I'm not going to argue with you. What's your address? What's your name? What's your date of birth? And
get this out to everyone. Share this around, because the fact is I've been talking about this over the last few months where we've seen police abusing some law, obscure law that's called breach of the peace, that they think that just your presence and somehow that gives them the right to detain you.
Yeah, well look, and I said to the police officer there, I said, I'm within my legal rights to be here. I'm not doing anything that's breaching the peace. I'm literally standing
Have you been charged with anything?
No, and I doubt I will. I very highly doubt
you didn't break any laws.
I didn't break any laws
at
all.
It's basically just being used to move you on.
And honestly, I think by doing that, the police took the easy option out because, just like Lauren Southern, they said, you can't go there, otherwise there'll be a breach of the peace, and that'll be your fault, not the people that could potentially attack you, but that'll be your fault.
And let's get that straight. When they talk about breach of the peace, just like Lauren Southern, just like myself and Debbie at that rally, and a lot of other people, they're talking about the fact that your presence, just your presence, can incite other people to attack you. So instead of going and dealing with the attackers, they're basically moving on the potential victim.
Well, that sounds a lot like what the whole rally was about today anyway, calling the attackers victims.
Let's go on to that. So you told me that before you were detained, you saw some interesting placards.
Yeah. So the protest hadn't actually started yet, but a lot of people have been gathering and holding signs and chanting and that sort of thing. And there was one sign, I don't quite remember exactly what it said. There was one big adrenaline rush, but it said something to the effect of Apex, in inverted commas, are the real victims of racism.
And that is something I've been talking about for a while.
I mean, screw the thousands of Victorian families who've fallen victims to crime at their hands. They're the victims here because of the media's negative portrayal.
The fact is...
Unbelievable.
And my message to the African community, you're going about this all wrong. The stats don't lie. The victims don't lie. And the fact is that Agberg, for example, you're 60 times more likely to offend.
Yeah.
So they are 60 times more likely to offend a Sudanese immigrant.
Yeah, and the thing is as well is that the people that were there, the members of the African community that were there, the community leaders and people who have, lost family members, that sort of thing, they're not part of the problem. The problem is with the people committing the crimes, and they are not even bothering to address that. If they really cared about the welfare of their community, they would be going after the people committing the crimes. They would be going after the children who are fatherless, the high rates of unemployment and the low rates of education. If they seriously cared about their own community, but no, they just want to paint themselves as victims. And I'm not speaking for all of them, but it's what is vocal in the media, in social...
I think it's, the fact that the African community go about running these sorts of events, these sorts of rallies, instead of, like you said, taking on the thugs within their community. But I feel like it's potentially because that is their culture.
It's the easy way out.
Well, it's to them, they don't look at those crimes in the same light as we, as Westerners, as Aussies, look at it, because they're used to that. For them, it's quite normal. So they potentially, and you know what? They truly feel like victims here because people are pointing out the stats, the facts. So, those of you in the African community that are watching this, and I'm sure there's many of you, just start being part of the solution and not part of the problem. You are part of the problem the moment you act like the victim.
Yeah,
you're not the victims. The people that have been home invaded, that have been carjacked, that have been subjected to getting rolled on in St Kilda Beach under riots, the jewellery store owners that have been robbed and smashed with the things in their shop, they are the victims here. And it is your kids, it is your nephews, it's your neighbours, it's your community that have afflicted this upon Victorians. Anyways, mate, I'm glad you haven't been charged.
Yeah, so I'm hoping nothing bad comes out of that. I highly doubt it.
We'll follow it if it is, but again, this is exactly what we've been talking about. This breach of the peace law has to be challenged. We must challenge it because it is an abuse of power. Now, before we close this video, you told me something else really interesting on a totally different subject.
Yeah.
Facebook gave you a warning for hate speech.
Yeah.
What was it exactly that you said?
Yeah. Well, I've actually been banned for the past 30 days on my normal account. I haven't been able to post on my page.
Which is the Young Conservative.
Yeah, the Young Conservative. Yeah. And that's another thing. But my backup account that I've been using just literally half an hour ago, and it's good that I'm getting off my ban on my normal account now.
Yeah.
I got a warning. I haven't been banned yet because it's the first one, and I literally posted a status that said Palestine isn't a country, and I got a thing on Facebook saying your post has been removed for hate speech. And I thought,
Palestine isn't a country is fact. The fact that Facebook recognises that as hate speech is disgraceful.
Yeah, but the thing I originally got banned for on my normal account is I shared on my page there was an article about Starbucks paying for its employees' gender transitions, and I wasn't being horrible at all. I shared it and I said I'm not going to spend another cent at Starbucks. because what they're doing is perpetuating a mental illness, and that perpetuating a mental illness was classified as hate speech. I was stating a fact. Gender dysphoria is a mental illness. You have it, you're 14 times more likely to kill yourself, and you're also something like 90 times more likely to be suffering from other mental illnesses. It is pure fact, but Facebook, social media, the current status quo does not like to recognise that.
Our world is upside down. Literally, to everything you're saying now, the fact that the African community is rallying as the victims of the African crime wave. The fact that Facebook will consider facts as hate speech, whether it's got to do with Palestine not being a country. Nobody argues that. Nobody even argues that. That's not even a thing. They may want a country called Palestine, but it is not a country now under anybody's.
Or the whole gender dysphoria being a mental illness. Could you imagine if we treated schizophrenic people the same way? Oh, that's okay. You're having delusions that people want to kill you. That's just who you are. That's your identity. Could you imagine? Ridiculous.
All right, guys, share it out.
Yeah.
And we are going to keep following this up and challenge this breach of the peace. I feel really uncomfortable about it, and I've been targeted, victim of that same thing, and many people have, and I think time has come that we actually take it on and find out. I think we're going to have to get some lawyers involved to actually challenge.
Yeah, and I should also say as well, I don't hold any sort of animosity toward the Victoria Police. Now a lot of them are just doing their job.
Absolutely.
But then the ones today are a bit questionable because for one, my car was in the area. I had to go back and get my car afterwards, and they said, if you return to the area north of Burke Street, you will be arrested, you will be put in jail, you will face a magistrate. And I thought, all right. I said, well, I need to go get my car. They said, all right, we'll make sure we don't see you. Yeah. And I said, gosh.
No, there are bad eggs but the majority of the coppers that are out on the street at these rallies are decent people. It is the command, it is the government who are giving them these orders, and they are instructing them to abuse this law.
It's the same thing that's happening in the UK. When you said it happens in the UK, it's just a precursor of what's going to happen here. You were not wrong. You were not wrong.
Absolutely. All right, guys, share it around. Let everyone know what's going on and what happened today. Both with the fact that the African community have decided to rally as victims, and that Victoria Police once again have abused this law.
Yeah, the Socialist People's Army of Victoria, we'll call it.
But it's not only Victoria, because yesterday Lawrence Southern was victim of the same abused law in New South Wales. So it seems to be a national problem. Share it around, guys. Thanks for being with us.
No worries.